It is now time for Diary of a Wrestling Fan with Bill Chase. And now here he is, the man deemed Canada's greatest mathlete, Bill Chase. Thank you, Mr. Podcast Announcer, and welcome to another edition of Diary of a Wrestling Fan. I am Bill Chase, the podcast that chronicles my 33 amazing years of being a fan of professional wrestling. Thank you for streaming on Anchor, on Spotify, wherever podcasts are streamed. Follow, subscribe, and especially if you're listening on YouTube, hit that subscribe button right now. How's that notification bell? Ding, ding, ding. So, today we're going to be going back to the era of the Invasion. But before we do that, Pro Wrestling Ontario. That's right. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram. Like us on Facebook. And subscribe to us here on YouTube. As a matter of fact, if you're listening to this podcast on YouTube, scroll the video screen. Of course, your upper right there. Yeah, there it is. And there's the link to Pro Wrestling Ontario. And hit that subscribe button. After you're done listening to the podcast, check out our great content, matches, complete shows, both Iron Cup tournaments, as well as the backstage shenanigans of Foundation. That's Pro Wrestling Ontario. All right, we're going to get right into it here. Again, the Invasion era, Raw and Smackdown come to Toronto in September of 2001. Now, this time I'm 18 years old. I am just about to begin my OAC year of high school, and I am depressed. Not depressed to the point, that kind of depressed, just sad more than anything. I guess depressed is overstating it. I'm going into my OAC year. My best friends, who I mentioned in the King of the Ring podcast. I talked about a bit about the Invasion in the King of the Ring podcast because it was just starting to get underway. My friends Jeff and John, my two closest friends at this point, as well as my buddy Tom, and Tom's friend Kyle, who was starting to become a part of our group at this point. We're not growing apart, but we're going in different directions. Now, Tom was going to McMaster. Jeff, I was going to college at this point, I believe, and John was going away. So I knew things were going to be different because I was going to be stepping into high school for the first time without Jeff and John. Now, Tom didn't go to our school. Tom went to Westmount. But still, it was going to be weird without my two best friends going to high school. So I was weary about that. I still had my friends from church, Crystal, and especially my friend Lisa, who I still maintain some contact with to this day. Love that woman. She is amazing. Can't say enough good things about her. And at this point at church, my wrestling fandom wasn't being judged. That wouldn't happen until years later, but I remember they were confused by it. They didn't get the appeal, but they never got on my case about it. So I was good at them. And I was also becoming close friends with Crystal's sister, Sonia, at this time. She didn't understand it either, but she would kind of make fun of it here and there, but whatever. So I knew Raw and SmackDown were coming up. And school was about to begin. It was Labor Day weekend. We had just said goodbye to John. I didn't get tickets. I was working all summer for my mom at the dental office as doing some filing work. I was purging files that it was like a new law or whatever that had passed, that files that are 10 years or prior that haven't been updated since are now to be purged. And that was my job all summer. They had a huge archive, a basement-long archive of files that needed to be done. And it was to the point where I didn't get it all done at first. I actually had to wait. Like, I actually had to keep working from home. That's some money. And I was working about 3 days a week that summer. So I had some money, but I never thought to get tickets for Raw and SmackDown. Now, I hadn't been to a live show at this point since the Raw that came to Toronto in early 99. I hadn't been to anything at the ACC yet. I wanted to go to the Air Canada Center, and I didn't have the chance. So Labor Day weekend, I'm on MSN. You'll remember that. I'm on MSN again. I'm dreading going back to school because I hated school too. So my friend Mark messages me. Now, Mark was someone that I met back at Limeridge Mall many years ago. When I was 15, he was about 20. And here's the thing. I was wearing my Austin 316 shirt in the food court with my buddies. He was wearing a Bret Hart shirt I was lined up at Harvey's, and he was behind me. Now I know because I noticed we walked around there at the same time. I just looked at him, so nice shirt. He's my favorite. He's like, oh yeah, I like your shirt too. And he was there with his girlfriend at the time. He told me he lived in Stony Creek, and that within 2 minutes, as we're waiting in line, he's telling me, oh, I got all these tapes of Japan and all the old territory days. You know about the territory days? I'm like, I knew a little bit. I knew that's where Ric Flair was really popular. But it was thanks to Mark. I'm going to do a whole episode about this, how I got into tape trading. But this is how we met. Now, some people found it odd that a 20-year-old was, friends with a 15-year-old. But Mark was, again, instrumental in me expanding my, knowledge in terms of, not even knowledge, but like my fandom. He expanded my fandom of wrestling. I learned about the territories. I learned more about Japan and some rare indie stuff that he had. It was great. So he was a diehard fan. We maintained contact on, Messenger and then ICQ. You remember that? Yeah, this is the era of ICQ still. This is not long after Prozac came out with the song www.nevergetoveryou. Oh. So yeah, just to give you a sense of the time frame here. Now, in terms of wrestling fandom, I was still passionate at this point. And I wanted to go to Raw and SmackDown, or at least one of them. I wanted to go to at least one. Why? Because I knew Christian was going to turn on Edge, and I wanted to see it live. I knew Christian was finally going to betray him, and I wanted to see it. I didn't want to watch it on TV. I wanted to see this live. And here's the thing about the invasion, and this can be an unpopular opinion to some of you. I don't think it's as bad as people say it is. Could it have been more? Absolutely. But I think at the end of the day, the big problem with the invasion, when I talked to a lot of fans about it, even some fellow wrestlers, is that it wasn't what we dreamed of. If you recall, if you listen to my King of the Ring episode, King of the Ring 2001 episode, which is episode 2 in the archives, check it out if you haven't. Me and my friends, who I mentioned earlier, John, Jeff, and Tom, and Kyle, we were dreaming up the possibilities for the invasion. But I think we set our expectations way too high. Everybody played fantasy booker with this, though. Everybody's guilty of it. I'm guilty of it. A lot of us are. To this day, people still play fantasy booker over the invasion. More than any other angle, I think. But was it a complete bomb? The invasion pay-per-view itself drew the largest non-WrestleMania pay-per-view buy of all time. And people go on, well, the numbers are down, the ratings were down, and the other pay-per-views weren't doing as well as like they did last year, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, but again, even in hindsight, they were still drawing strong numbers on television. Their house shows were still doing really well. So WWF was still hot. It was still hot. I think even more than the invasion, the thing that people didn't like, and again, it's something that's been said time and time again, Stone Cold Steve Austin being a heel. I think, I'm just guessing, I know from fans that I talked to, even some family that were fans, they hated it. And they weren't as passionate about it anymore. They weren't watching every week. Steve Austin being a heel, despite the fact it had some memorable moments, which I'm going to get to as well. In the end of the day, in hindsight, it might not have been the best. But that being said, here were some good things that were happening at this point. Which is why I don't think the invasion was terrible. There were some great matches on TV, some great free matches on television. RVD, Rob Van Dam. How huge did he get over from the moment he stepped on television? That feud with Jeff Hardy, so much fun. Some of the mid-card guys from WCW got over. Some of their talent got over. Think of the Hurricane, which he's on these shows. And it's kind of like he was coming into his own with the character at this point. It was already starting to get a reaction. There was, again, Booker. I like Booker. I love Booker. Booker T, I thought was great. The Rock had just come back. not long before this and won the WCW title at SummerSlam. Austin and Angle were having a really good feud. It was weird with Angle as the face and Austin as the heel, but you know what? That was some good stuff there. They had just come off that great match at SummerSlam. Underrated gem that people don't talk about. So was the invasion everything we wanted to be? And even at the time, I'm thinking to myself at the time, yeah, it's disappointing. Even I thought that, but like, I'm still right into this. I'm still right into a lot of stuff they're doing. So really, what's to complain about? At the end of the day, if I am enjoying it more than I'm not enjoying it, then, well, I'm having fun. So anyway, I digress back to MSN Messenger. So Mark messages me. He says, yeah, the buddy I was supposed to go to Raw and Smackdown with bailed. I didn't know he was going. Actually, I'm not surprised he went to almost every live wrestling. He went to like 4 or 5 wrestling shows a week, and he still worked. He had a decent job. I think that's how he afforded all these shows. But actually, these tickets were a birthday gift for him. His birthday was back in August. And now my mom was trying to encourage me not to spend money on stuff like this. But I still asked her anyway, well, how much for the tickets? He said, we're going to go to both Raw and SmackDown. And he said, well, they were a birthday gift, so you don't have to pay anything. I'm like, wow. I'm like, yes, absolutely. Then after he said that, I'm like, yes, I'm going. That being said, I was still going to waste my money on merch. Always did. So the day of the show, again, this is Labor Day. Now, again, I'm still kind of depressed about having to go back to school, but you know what? This is at least going to take my mind off it for a bit. I'm going to have some fun. If I'm going to end the summer, I'm going to end it with a bash. Wrestling. Nothing more I love than live wrestling. This is my first live WWF show in almost 3 years. I had been watching the product intently, but they hadn't come to Hamilton since the Breakdown pay-per-view. And of course, I made it to the one show in Toronto, which is a future podcast I'll be doing because, was that an adventure? And let me tell you that. One of the most fearful experiences I ever had. So I'm psyched. Mark comes and picks me up now. Again, he's still living in Stony Creek at this time with his girlfriend. He's still tape trading. Again, so he's still giving me tapes at this point. But by about a couple years after this, he had stopped. And again, I'll get to that eventually. Now he lives out west with his now wife. So Mark picks me up. We're going to the show, and we're just discussing the possibilities of everything. Now, he didn't drive all the way to Toronto. He was smart about that. A lot of people I went to shows with were smart about this. He parked in the Burlington GO station. We took the train, the Union. And this is one of the things I love about going to live shows, talking to wrestling fans on the train. The train was packed with wrestling fans. You know, we're going, Jericho. You know, one guy is like, Jericho, he's being misused. He should be the champion now. And stuff like Benoit's being held back. Like, you know, we're all talking about all these things. Just having fun, talking wrestling. I said RVD's a future champion. Edge should be a champion one day too. What did I call both of those? 5 years later, mind you. And no, we're having a lot of fun though. But they're saying Taker's washed up. I'm like, oh, shut up, he's not washed up. And they're like, oh yeah, he is. I mean, he's not as good as he was, and he's like maybe got 2 or 3 good years left in him. Yeah, this is 2001, folks. September 2001. Now, of course, this is 1 week before the world's about to change forever. But at this time, on September 3rd, I was on top of the world. I'm going to a live wrestling show. I hadn't even been to the Air Canada Centre yet. I walk in there. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I see it for the first time. Unbelievable. We get there. Even before we get our merch, I want to just look to the gate where our seats are. And man, it's amazing. We were on the middle of the lower bowl, almost diagonally from the ring, facing the entranceway. So we had a great view of everything. So the merch, I get my first Chris Jericho shirt. I believe Mark got, I can't remember. I think he actually got an Edge t-shirt. And we're psyched for the event, but before it starts, I noticed this beautiful brunette girl who had like kind of like a mild punk rock kind of look. Now, keep in mind, folks, I know you're all thinking, like some of you who are my friends, actually, my friends who are listening to this, not all of you, but my friends who are listening to this, Bill and Avril Lavigne. This is a year before Avril Lavigne hit the scene. So maybe this was just foreshadowing the kind of look I would like on a woman at that point. And I think she's gorgeous. She looked to be about my age, about 18. And I'm checking her out, and Mark's just like, Bud, she's cute. Now I'm thinking, Mark had a girlfriend at the time, but he's a flirt. So I'm thinking I'm great. I'm going to compete with him for this one. But no, he actually said, maybe you should talk to her or something, man. Like, I don't know. Like, probably a ton of guys hit on her at these things. But she's also wearing those armbands like Jeff Hardy. I think they were like homemade, though. They weren't merchandise armbands. She was wearing a Hardy shirt. She had a Hardy's foam finger. So she was psyched for the show. And then when it got started, I remember thinking, well, that's right, they got to tape Jacked or Metal, depending on what market it was first, right? So I remember just the crowd being so amped that they're popping for like, because again, these guys were like, don't get me wrong, they were over and they were popular, but they're getting like great reactions. Like, I remember Dreamer and Raven getting a really good one. The crowd was really into Kai and Tai, really into Kai and Tai. And because like, it was Dreamer and Raven against Kai and Tai. X-Pac, yeah, he had X-Pac heat in Toronto too. He did. I was cheering for him. I like X-Pac. I like Sean Allman. I always have. And you know what? I was probably literally the only one in that building cheering for him that night. And I remember some people were looking at me like I'm a zombie. Like, he's cheering for X-Pac, but X-Pac sucks. Even Mark's saying, dude, X-Pac sucks. You know he does not. I point out to Mark, like, you're the one who gave me the taste of him and Sabu. You're the one who gave me the taste of him and Jerry Lynn. Like, yo, that's when he was good. Oh, Mark, I miss him. But yeah, then there was Scotty Too Hottie and Chuck Palumbo. Their crowds really into Scotty. Of course, Scotty was over everywhere he went. But I remember the really big pop Billy Gunn got. He did like a squash match against Credible, I think. And oh man. So even during the Jacked Metal taping, crowds amped up. Now that's the beauty of these tapings. They do get you amped up for the actual show you're about to see, the Raw, the live show, the A show you're about to see. But it also looks good for them production-wise when they air these like C or D level shows. I don't mean that in a negative context. I mean, well, obviously Raw and SmackDown are, both A shows, B shows, whatever. How you want to categorize them. He would probably be the C show because he was still getting a lot of exposure at this point. And Jacked Metal was, more the D show. And again, that's just how it was in the pecking order. But no, those shows had some good matches too. And that's what I'm saying. So this place is packed, by the way. It's sold out. Absolutely sold out. But of course, the big thing that day that people sometimes forget about, that's the day WrestleMania X8 was announced. That's right. I forgot because Mark and I talked about it on the car ride to the GO station. How, well, we're going. More on that story in a future podcast. How that all went down. Yes, my Toronto wrestling stories seem to be some of my best. But anyway. So we're psyched for the show. Again, it gets underway. I just keep glancing at the girl as well. Like, oh my goodness, she's cute. She's too cute to be at a wrestling show. That's what I thought at the time. To me, there's a larger female wrestling contingent today than there was back then. Even though it was starting to grow back then because of like guys like the Hardys and that. So as the show gets started, for that JR comes out, gets a great reaction. Heyman got a mixed one. Heyman actually got a mixed reaction. So we go right into Raw. We're just going nuts. We're cheering. We're like marking out. We're just, we love it. So the opening match right away, Undertaker and Test. Taker gets a great reaction. Test got a pretty good reaction too, actually. Hometown boy. He was a heel. He was with the Alliance, the WWE ECW Alliance, of course. That's part of the Invasion. And I remember it being a pretty solid, hard-hitting match, from what I can recall. I haven't seen it since, but yeah, no, it was. I remember being a really solid matchup. Stevie Richards comes out, and then Mark and I look at each other like, "Oh God." We were so over Right to Censor. I mean, Right to Censor had been gone for a while. They were disbanded shortly after WrestleMania. I was just like, oh God, like come on, like what's he doing here? And what we thought right away, like, there's no way Richards is going to take on The Undertaker by himself. He has to have backup. Oh, little did we know. So, anyway, there were some segments. I remember there was Christian trying to, be healing in backstage segments, making fun of Toronto, trying to become the heel against The Rock, because he had a shot at the WCW title against The Rock. Tajiri and Big Show took on the Dudleys. I remember, too, they were also hyping... Okay, I'm sorry, I got to go back a second. They were hyping a big surprise for Stone Cold Steve Austin. So the Dudleys took on the Big Show and Tajiri, and they were a new team. I was kind of disappointed that we didn't see Big Show and Billy Gunn. Shoguns! And Tajiri, I think, he missed the Big Show by accident. The Dudleys were supposed to be heels here. They still got a great reaction. And they got an even greater reaction when Tajiri was put through a table again. They're supposed to be heels. But the Toronto crowd, they call it Bizarro World. I'm like, well, it's not bizarre to cheer for the Dudleys. They got cheered regardless most of where they went, no matter what side of the fence they were on. So Shane McMahon and Booker T then make a deal with Christian. That's right. Booker is going to be the ring announcer. Shane was going to be the timekeeper. And they'll help him win if he gives Booker a title shot. Of course, we don't know where this is going. We're thinking, is he going to turn on Edge tonight? And Mark was still skeptical. But again, I'm going to both shows now, so I don't care as long as I see it. So yeah, I remember also too that Austin was worried that Angle was going to show up, stuff like that. Angle was promising to threaten him, because Austin had thrown the gold medals in the river at this point. And the rematch for Unforgiven hadn't been announced yet. So then there was Shawn Stasiak and Spike Dudley. Stasiak was so dumb, but it was so great. Again, when I say it's dumb, I mean I'm reminiscing how great it was because it was dumb. Him running into shit all the time, falling. It was funny for what it was. And you know what? It got a little silly at times, like even more silly than it already was. But you know what? Like, come on, stuff like him saying when on his trunk says Mecca, and he's like, I don't even know what that means. Stuff like that was funny. And you know what? The Stasiak was a fun mid card guy. I didn't mind him. And he lost the match to Spike because again he ran into something and tripped, and Spike got the win. Mark and I just looked at each other laughing. So then there was, I remember there was a couple segments. Christian gives the King of the Ring trophy back to Edge and apologizes for all the bad things he had done. I looked at Mark like, it's happening tonight. Mark said to me, he's like, you know what? No, they're going to tease it tonight. It's going to really happen on SmackDown tomorrow. Okay. I thought that was possible too. Then they were doing this whole thing too where Saturn and the Moppy thing. That's a guilty pleasure storyline for me. I will say this. And the Hurricane's already getting good reactions here. And again, he's just really beginning with the character. And blames Matt Hardy because that's who he's feeding at the time for the disappearance of Moppy. Yep. Mark hated the Moppy angle. He absolutely hated it. He's like, Perry Saturn is one of the most talented people I've ever seen. And he's doing this shit? I know he got legit mad. So he said that so loud, people were starting to look at him weird. Mark was a very passionate fan. And the only one who I think had a deeper knowledge of like a lot of wrestling in terms of fandom is Champ Monkey Chris. And again, for those of you in Ontario listening to this, you probably know who he is. Champ Monkey Chris has such a, like, people say, oh, Bill, you're seeing encyclopedic knowledge of wrestling. No. I said, I'll admit, I love knowing what I know, but Champ Monkey Chris, I got nothing on him, especially when it comes to the Ontario indie circuit. His history, the history he knows about the Ontario indie circuit is uncanny. But anyway, I digress. So, but no, Mark is one of the ones who expanded my fandom because of his trivial knowledge of like the old wrestling and that. But no, he was really passionate here. And thinking The Rock and Christian, people say Toronto turned on The Rock at WrestleMania X8. Nope. happened here. Despite the fact that Christian tried to heel on the crowd in a backstage segment earlier, by the time this match was over, the crowd wanted Christian to be the WCW champion. I remember the sharpshooter being applied by The Rock, and the crowd booed. Now, granted, it's not because they turned on Brett. Obviously, we all know they didn't. But I think they just resented The Rock using Brett's move. Because there was still a "You Screwed Brett" chance tonight at Earl. And you know what? It was so funny, though. It was so funny how they booed him for doing a sharpshooter. And I'm looking at Mark like, oh my God. Then this time, it's about midway through the show. I'm looking at the girl still. She finally gives me a smile. Mark nudges me, he's like, Bill, I can talk to her. I'm like, yeah, maybe after the show. So The Rock won because there was Booker screwed up. Whatever, he got involved or whatever. And then Christian, yeah, he lost. Crowd hated that. Because I remember Christian got a near fall in that match, and oh my goodness, the reaction when he didn't get it. Like, oh man, it's like their hearts broke. Because Christian was still their guy. So after this, they kind of built up the whole, Austin got a truck for a gift. Deborah does the lamest Price is Right game show beauty impersonation, but she actually, rather than having Roddy narrate, she describes the great details of this awesome new truck that they gave Austin as a gift. The fine Corinthian leather was the line. Oh, God. Okay, that part was kind of funny. But Angle just popped out of nowhere. And we're thinking he's going to trash the truck. I said to Mark, he's going to trash the truck, make Austin watch or whatever, and to pay back for the medals. Then there was, because remember, there was some Hardy and Lita against Ivory and the Hurricane. I think Ivory and the Hurricane won that, but Saturn didn't buy the Hurricane's whole spiel because he attacked him after. Just some, but I enjoyed that. I'll admit, the Moppy angle is, yes, it's a guilty pleasure, but at this point it kind of run its course. So, yeah, no, that's right. It was Raven. It ended up being Raven. So Austin is blindfolded and chained, and this weird sadistic angle, no pun intended, where it's almost like he's teasing throwing Austin off a bridge. It was good, but it was bizarre. I don't know. There's something strange about it. So either way, I'm looking at Mark and we're thinking, this could end up in a weird payoff. But then I thought, maybe he'll dump the truck over a bridge or something. I don't. If the WWF was doing such outlandish things over the years, we didn't think that was another realm of possibility. Believe me. So next up, of course, was Edge and Lance Storm. These two had a banger of a match at SummerSlam. And then I remember thinking, this is going to be awesome too, right? It was way too short. For my liking, anyway. I'm thinking, well, these two could tear it up if they really wanted to. So Edge gets the win with the roll-up. Storm goes on a post-match attack and Christian saves, but then, boom, destroys Edge with a chair, does the single concerto, and the crowd gasped. Remember, Christian had such great heat. At first, the crowd was in shock, but then finally just boo. Yeah, I was ready to. Mark and I were booing Christian right out of the building. And that look Christian had in his eyes, I remember seeing it on the Titantron. Reminded me of Owen when he turned on Brett. Thinking, I hope it's every bit as good. Spoiler, it wasn't, but it was still good. I'm sorry, I just love that Owen and Brett thing. It's just like on a whole other level. So the final match, but not the final segment of the evening, was RVD and Rhino against Chris Jericho and Jeff Hardy. The pop for Jericho was ungodly here. RVD also got a great reaction too, of course, because again, he was just getting over wherever he went. And I don't recall the match being overly long, but the girl, I remember the girl was saying about, she went nuts. She was screaming for Hardy. I kind of look at Mark and jokingly say, "See, that's the kind of guy she's into. I don't think I can compete." Mark's like, "Oh, fuck off. Just talk to her." So I'm like, okay, yes. After the show, I'll talk to her. So remember the match being short. I think Jericho got a roll up for a pin on RVD because they had a match coming up at Unforgiven. I remember that the match was fairly uneventful, I thought, but when I say these things, I was still enjoying the show. I was having a great time. There's nothing like live wrestling, just taking it all in with rabid fans, which Toronto always has to this day. And that's not, again, when I use rabid, not negative. I love it. Bizarro World? No, I call it fucking interesting world is what it is. So, okay, so then we get to the closing segment, which is Angle on the bridge with Austin, and we're thinking it's going to be great. Angle's mocking Austin with the what chance and everything. I think despite the weirdness of the earlier segment that built this up, I thought that was pretty amusing. So Deborah, who, well, played Deborah, I'll say this, I never got it with Deborah. No, don't get me wrong. I got the two reasons why a lot of guys were into her, but I just never got it. But anyway, she like does her whole "oh no" thing, and the payoff was a kiddie pool. Now I kind of chuckled at this. Oh, the answer about the bridge was a kiddie pool. I guess because it was to scare Austin into giving him a title shot. And I kind of look at Mark. I'm like, it's kind of disappointing. Why didn't he do something to the truck? Nothing happened to the truck. That's the rule in wrestling. When there's a prop involved, something's supposed to happen. A cake, a vehicle, a trophy. It's all supposed to get destroyed. It's like Millhouse on The Simpsons. When are they going to get to the fireworks? That's what it was. What I said to Mark, what about the truck? Either way, we left the show. It was a great time. Like I said, even when a show is not the most outstanding show you've ever seen at a live wrestling show, it's fun. To me, and this wasn't even subpar. It was actually a good show. It was a fun, enjoyable show. That heel turn was amazing. And we're thinking, oh, Christian's going to cut a great promo tomorrow on SmackDown. And even when it's not a blowaway, and not every show is going to be the Great American Bash '89, you know. But I said, even if it was a subpar show for argument's sake, I enjoyed live experiences I had at shows that weren't good. At least seeing it live was an experience, you know. And you can reminisce about it later, like I'm doing with this podcast. There you go. I went back home that night, got back around, oh God, I think it was shortly after 12:30. No, sorry, it was much later than that. What am I saying? Because we got on the train on Union pretty quick. Got back to Berlin. Yeah, so it was maybe after 1:30, I should say. So that wasn't a bad thing because the first day of high school for us is a half day. The half day and just the afternoons kind of get introductory to your classes in the afternoon, like half-hour periods, whatever. So I didn't have to get to bed early. But I remember I saw SmackDown again. I'm more excited for. I'm not even thinking about school. I'm thinking about SmackDown the next day. Because even though I was kind of disappointed with the payoff of that Austin Angle thing, at least I knew something big was going to happen on SmackDown. Oh boy, was I right! So of course, I get to the school day. I remember talking to Sonya. A couple of my wrestling buddies were still there. Not too many of them though. We talked a bit about what happened on Raw. Christian's heel turn. Well, Christian's heel turn was a big talk among wrestling fans at school the next day, on the first day of school. So I remember talking to Jeff about it on the phone after school. It was great. Then I'm getting ready. So as soon as I get home from school, get home, I eat a quick dinner and get ready for Mark to pick me up again to go to SmackDown. Oh, I forgot the girl. After the show, she got too far away and I couldn't catch up to her. So yeah. But anyway, next day at SmackDown, again, the atmosphere is just as good as it was the night before. And Mark and I are trying to guess. Again, same thing in the train ride up to with the wrestling fan. Oh, so good. Again, just talking to these guys. One guy tried to argue again about Sting being a draw. Undertaker's washed up. It's the same guy. Undertaker's washed up. Sting's not a draw. Sting was never a draw. Oh, the invasion would flop with him. Like, no, it wouldn't. Sting is a draw. Because I tried to do the same. No, he's a draw. He was chasing the title. He wasn't the biggest draw. And he was the champion. But he was in the biggest freaking pay-per-views in WWE history, including the biggest pay-per-view. You know what he said to me? This was a Hogan. Like, it's also because of Hogan, yes. Come on, bud. I think he's just trolling at this point. This is before like message boards and trolling became an actual thing. Well, actually, no, it's not before message boards, but it's before trolling became a popular thing. So, anyway, we get to the ACC again. And Mark, as we get there, he's lecturing me about not talking to the girl. Like, I said I was going to talk to her after the show. And so we're sitting down. So we got the exact same seats we did the night before. As we're sitting there, and then lo and behold, she walks in again. Mark, just because he doesn't even say anything. I said, I know. So I don't even wait till the end of the show this time. I go up to her and I say, my name is Bill. She's like, oh, I'm Amanda. We get talking a little bit. She likes some of the same music I like. She loves wrestling. She was 17 going on 18 in the new year. So she was only not even she was like 6 months younger than me. Or something like, no, my math is off there. Either way, she's going to turn 18. Okay, she was turning 18 in the new year. I was turning 19. So yeah, I'm way off. Sorry. Like 10 months. So I'm thinking she is adorable. Now, here's the thing. I was really shy back then when I came to women. I was good at being friends with women. Yeah, friends only, whatever. But no, she actually, I was almost sweating. You might have 18 here, people. I asked her, I said, do you live in Toronto? And she says to me, no, I live in Burlington, actually. I'm like, oh, I'm from Hamilton. She's like, oh, that's cool. That's pretty close. So I said, well, it's not too far. Can I get your phone number? And she's like, oh, I don't like to give my number away. Right away, I'm just like, oh, I'm trying to, oh, okay, I understand. Like, no, but you can add me to MSN if you want. Yeah, okay. And I thought that was cool. I'm like, yeah, great, cool. So she gave me like what does she have? She wrote it on something. Yeah, because I guess she had autographs on her shirt, so I guess she carries a marker around. Yeah, it was like it was a Sharpie marker, and she wrote it. Oh, what was it on? I think it was on a flyer for like a local indie show. Yeah, it's like a flyer for a local indie show, and she's put her like name and like her email in that. So, freaking us, sit down, Mark. He puts his hand on. It wasn't a high five. It was like, just give me five. I did. So as we're sitting there, again, I'm happy. I got a beautiful girl's MSN information, even though it wasn't her phone number. And again, we're psyched for this show. It's like, what's going to happen? Like, how's Austin going to retaliate? So the show gets underway. Again, they tape Heat, and that before SmackDown. This is actually SmackDown wasn't live very often, but this one was. So the Heat, I remember that. Heat had Saturn and Hugh Morris. Saturn got a really good reaction here, actually. Tommy Dreamer and Tajiri. Canyon is. I love Canyon. Canyon was the U.S. Yeah, he was still the U.S. champion, I think, at this point. Him and Scotty Tuhati had a really fun match. I remember. It was not too long, but it was fun. And again, crowd was rating the Scotty once again, like they were the night before. Dreamer and Tajiri. I was kind of surprised Dreamer won because Dreamer really hadn't been on Raw too much. And Tajiri had gotten a lot of TV time. So I know I didn't get that, but yeah, whatever. No, I didn't hate Dreamer. I like Dreamer. I mean, I like him now. I hated him for years in ECW because I loved Raven, but Dreamer grew on me towards the end of ECW. So I know I respected how good a wrestler he was. Chuck Palumbo and Spike Dudley. I remember the crowd did not give two shits about Chuck Palumbo at all. And even Mark's like Chuck Palomo's a fucking piece of shit. Like, it's what he said too. Chuck Palomo's a piece of shit. He's a piece of shit in WCW. He's a piece of shit here. Mark was very opinionated. He went on this rant again about Saturn being one of the best wrestlers. Again, he said the same thing he did the night before. Said the same thing about Saturn. Saturn appears Saturn's one of the most talented athletes in the world. And he's carrying a freaking mop around. Yeah, Mark was very, very passionate, I should say. So after they tape Heat again, it gets the crowd excited. And that, again, that's the beauty of these shows. It gets the live crowd excited for the main show. It makes the C or D level shows good on television. So yeah, it's why it's smart to tape these beforehand. So yeah. So SmackDown. Remember being psyched as Heyman got another great mixed reaction. Michael Cole got booed out of the building. I don't know why. I still never understood the heat behind him even then. I remember I actually obviously got it when he was a heel, but still. So they remember they show Kurt Angle kind of hype up whatever he's going to do on this show. And the opening match was the Hardys and Lita, or with Lita, I should say, against Raven and Just Incredible. Now, I love Raven. This is my big complaint. Like, we got to be doing more with Raven. Now, the Hardys won, which is no surprise. Raven and Incredible were not even like really an established team that way. Raven was kind of teaming up with random guys here and there. So I was remember it being a pretty fun match. I remember the Amanda, now I knew her name, just screaming for the Hardys because she was still wearing those same homemade like armbands, the Jeff Hardy armbands. And yeah, it was awesome. So she looked great. Sorry. So backstage, it was Steve Austin and Deborah. So Austin, of course, was thinking, oh, this is going to be great. He says, he didn't want to face the members of the Alliance. He felt humiliated. And we entered the locker room. And I remember no one was looking out like, woo, just going about their business. And, he flipped it on Chavo for being late and just beat the shit out of him. And he did the Sean Stasiak coffee thing. Stasiak gets him his coffee, he throws it at him, and Austin thinks he burnt his tongue. Well, Stasiak. There was some good stuff here. Again, like I said, Austin as a heel in hindsight might not have been the greatest decision, but it did make for some good television. I will say that. And seeing it live was hilarious. Again, Mark and I are just killing ourselves laughing. So Christian comes out for a promo, and the crowd is just booing the shit out of him. Even Mark and I were just losing it because, like, oh, fuck you. Like, yeah, we loved Edge. We did. Christian cut a really good promo, I remember. He had really good heel intensity here. And I remember he perfectly, he phrased the theme song. I think I know you. But Edge didn't know Christian, kind of thing. I forget the exact wording of it, but yeah, it was along those lines. I remember, and we were just booing him louder after that. So, Steven Richards versus The Undertaker. Needless to say, this didn't last very long. Because Chronic debuted. Brian Adams and Brian Clark. Now, I like these guys at different points in their careers as a fan. I've liked them both. But the Chronic tag team in WCW never did it for me as a fan. Don't know why, because these guys are pretty badass if you really think about it. But Undertaker was double teamed. I can't remember why Kane was gone at this point. I don't know. But we double teamed him, and they gave him the high times, which I thought was a great finisher for two powerful guys. It works. So I'm thinking, like, I'm not like marking on it, but if I look at marking on as I look at Mark, yeah, I say to him, I'm not marking up, but I'm looking at Mark and I'm thinking, okay, this actually be pretty cool. I like the hard hitting big guy matches too, you know what I mean? So like the match with Taker and Kane could be really awesome. So Regal announces that Regal's still the commissioner at this point. He announces that The Rock will defend his WCW title against Booker T and Shane McMahon in a handicap match, Unforgiven. And of course, Deborah taking another shot at Canada, much like they like to do a lot. They took shots at us like at the country more than they did at some heels in towns. I noticed. I said that to Mark too. I'm like, does they take shots at us as a country more than they do at towns that they go into? Deborah saying, "Oh, people are the people were just foreign and blah blah stuff like that or whatever." And anyway, so then there was Test and Billy Gunn. And Test got a good reaction the night before. He didn't really get a great one here. Billy Gunn actually still got a really good reaction. And Test won. It was they were pushing Test pretty good at this point because he would win some titles later on. Then Austin comes to the ring, and I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be interesting. But he was reluctant to come out. He didn't want to face the crowd. I remember he cut a scathing promo on Canadians and how bloodthirsty we were, how we wanted Angle to throw him off the bridge and stuff like that. And they had like a nice little back and forth. And I remember Austin, yeah, he got pissed off saying he didn't want to wait till Unforgiven. He wanted to whip some ass here on SmackDown. He's going to challenge each member of the Alliance, and then he'd pick for himself and saying he'll fight the next person who walked through the door. Then I remember there's this funny segment with Lillian Garcia and The Rock, doing their whole, the Rock has, Lillian has feelings for The Rock. Oh yeah, Miss Lillian Roxia or something like that. Oh my goodness, that was Mrs. Lillian Roxia. And Lillian gets wet with perspiration standing so close to him. Good God, the people strudel. Oh, God, I get it. It sounds dated, but you know what? I remember Mark and I just looked at each other laughing our asses off. I remember looking down at Amanda, like, because she's a row over and to the right. She's chuckling too. So, us in the Alliance waited like I said, they're waiting for the next person to walk through the door, and we didn't even guess. Like, usually we guess like this. RVD, and right away, our mouths hang open with big smiles as Mark and I look at each other like, yes, we're going to get this match tonight. The crowd was starting an RVD chant, and they're going one-on-one. So I couldn't wait for this. Like, oh, we got a big main event tonight. And I'm thinking, I hope it's not like a 2-minute match with a fuck finish. Like, I want to see these two have a match. Like, fuck. So the Hurricane, Hurricane, I guess the Hurricane is getting a good reaction already at this point. Like I said, the character's just starting. You can see it has some wheels on it. Wheels that would last for quite some time, actually. And he did the open challenge. And because he had the what's I saying? Because Hurricane had issued. Yeah, he did an open challenge. Big Show came out. Because Hurricane was the European champion. That's right. He was European champion. He was going to put the title on the line, and then Big Show came out. And we're thinking, title's probably going to change hands. And no, Lance Storm came in or whatever for the disqualification. Then there was an eight-man tag team match. It was the APA, Chris Jericho, and The Rock versus the Dudleys, Rhino, and Booker T. Again, the Dudleys are still getting babyface reactions here. The crowd, roof blows out the place with Jericho. Rock actually gets a bit of a mixed reaction. Like, it wasn't a mix like WrestleMania or it wasn't even negative like WrestleMania or anything. It was more like 80-20. 80% for, 20% against. They weren't as rabid against him as they were when he was facing Christian the night before. So, yeah, I remember the Alliance won the match, and Jericho got pinned. And I think I was with Jericho, and then Mark said this to me, he's like, it's like almost even Steven with Jericho. He loses, and then he wins and he loses, wins and he loses. It's just never consistent. And looking back in hindsight, if you look back at some of Jericho's earliest times in WWF, kind of true. Now, I'm not saying it hurt him. Clearly it didn't. I mean, look, he's still a star today in AEW, so clearly it didn't hurt him that much. But in hindsight, is I can see where his comment was coming from. But I didn't care. I still love Jericho whether he won or lost. So it's like, and yeah. People say, "Oh, well, wins and losses don't matter." I can't remember who it was. I think it's somebody. I think it was Mick Foley who said it. It doesn't statistically, like a football team or a hockey team or whatever, but it does, or like even a boxer. But like it does in the context of a story, which is true. It does matter in the context of the story. So did it hurt Jericho? Nah, not really. I mean, again, clearly he was undisputed champion a few months after this. Spoiler: he was undisputed champion a few months after this. So there's that. I mean, it couldn't have hurt him too bad. So yeah, I remember that. There was a pretty solid 8-man tag actually, from what I can recall. It was pretty. I remember it being a pretty decent match. So then the main event, Austin and RVD. It was non-title. And the crowd was so hot for RVD during this. And I remember Mark and I were like focusing on this match so intently. And we're thinking, he's got to win here. He's got to win here. It's going to, because RVD was getting cheered, even though he was on the heel Alliance faction. He been getting cheered since he stepped into the company. He couldn't get people to boo him. And I remember building up to the Jericho, because the thing with him and Jericho, which they had a really good banger of a match in Unforgiven not long after this. So we're enjoying the match. They're having a really good. This is a really good match. I actually watched this not too long ago on the Best of SmackDown 10th anniversary DVD, and I remember like it was a really good match. These two had really good chemistry, I thought. Angle's music hit, the pyro went off, and then Austin got rolled up, and the pop. Oh my goodness, we jumped up out of our seats for RVD winning, and we knew it wasn't for the title. But still, this was again Austin losing on television like this in a singles match, especially to a guy who had yet to be 110% established as a main eventer. That's huge. I thought, and I looked at Mark. RVD is freaking made now, and we left Raw having a good time. Like, yeah, I mean, it was great. Like, Raw was great, but this was, oh wow, just that main event match alone made that night. The rest of the show could have been the drizzling shits, and it wasn't. It wasn't. No, it was a really good show. It's a really fun show. In a lot of ways, I thought it was better than Raw. But that main event, oh my goodness. I thought that what was better about the show than Raw was some of the segments. I thought the segments were a lot more fun here. And there were some good matches that the whole, again, Hurricane was funny. Hurricane was funny. Chronic, even though we didn't mark out for it, was a nice little surprise. I remember being happy that 8-man tag was fun, seeing all those guys there. It was a really good show. The heat matches I thought were really good too. So all in all, again, people can say what they want about this era, but I liked it. The promo from Christian, awesome. The whole heel turn made that whole 2 days. 2 days of wrestling, I'm on top of the world. 2 days of great action in a company that I don't care what anyone says was still hot. RVD becoming a made guy on this night was what we left thinking. On the way back, all we could talk about was what's next for RVD. Are they going to put the title on him? Is he going to win it by WrestleMania? Maybe sooner. Because we're thinking this guy's hotter than anything they got going right now. Lo and behold, we were wrong about RVD, getting the title anytime soon anyway. And then it was back to reality. I was at school with only a few friends. Then, of course, I contacted Amanda. We actually talked every day on MSN for the next week and after, but something, of course, significant happened a week after the SmackDown show. And, of course, I don't have to tell you 9/11. Oddly enough, I was wearing my Chris Jericho t-shirt that I bought at Raw that day. And you know what? It was unforgettable. I was at school and it happened. I remember I was going to the second period class, which is a woodshop class, and I remember waiting there for 5 minutes, and our teacher, Mr. Ware, she's in his office because he had like one of those those TVs that teachers had show movies or whatever, like instructional stuff or whatever for their class. And I guess he's probably, because every TV, even if it didn't have cable, had CHCH TV channel 11. So I'm assuming that's what he was watching. And we're waiting for 5 minutes. He's still in his office looking at his TV. And remember, he comes out saying, there's some pretty bad stuff happening in New York right now. It's pretty bad. It looks like things are going to get pretty bad for. So I remember he just couldn't get his words together, and pretty sure I went on with class. I remember because I went home for lunch. I went home for lunch, and I remember seeing on the TVs there, and I'm like, oh my God. Like, what is this? There was a big prayer circle towards, because I went back. So I went back to the school lunch. I lived really close to the school, so went home, ate my lunch, and then rather than sticking around, I actually went back to school because it was just too terrible to watch on TV. There's a big prayer circle that was organized by the group that I was a part of there, that my friends from church were a part of, and a lot of people joined it in the auditorium. It grew pretty wide, and it was good to see so many people coming together. In the face of tragedy, we're all trying to stick together, pray together. So the world changed. The best we could do is live our lives the best we could. It was unbelievable. It still is to this day. It's almost been 20 years. So it's hard to segue from this because to some good things. Either way, you try to live your lives the best you can in the face of anything going on in the world. That's still relevant to this day. I was getting to know Amanda a little bit. I'm thinking, this girl's really awesome. You know what I mean? She actually really was. She was very unique. And her and I talked to each other a lot about what happened. I remember talking to my friend Jenny a lot about what happened. She was really scared about what the world was going to become, and said we just got to take it as it comes. Sadly, we can't. Scary time, but we got to do this as we can. Amanda was believing there was going to be World War III. I think a lot of us were. I'm not saying she's being irrational, but it looked to be possible. I was thinking that might happen. So I got to know, like I said, I got to know Amanda a bit, and I would see her again. Even though mainly our friendship was MSN, she did eventually give me her number. But what happened with her, that's a story for a future podcast. It didn't have I'm still single, so I didn't end up with her. So either way, we had an interesting friendship. And I'll tell you more about that on a future podcast chronicling this era. So, because probably in December, I'll cover the night where Jericho became Undisputed Champion. And actually, that's around the time where the story with her and I really takes more shape. So, I hope you enjoyed this podcast, folks. Follow me on social media, BillChase33 on both Instagram and Twitter. Also, don't forget, I am on Facebook if you want to add me. Go right ahead. I love talking wrestling. Next episode, I will be talking about WCW Fall Brawl 98. Man, was this pay-per-view memorable for some of the wrong reasons. I was watching it on television at the time live, and I'm going to talk a bit about it because this is going to seg into the episode after that when I attended WWF Breakdown live here in Hamilton, another live show I attended. So again, these kind of shows are going to run together in a way. It's almost like a two-parter in some fashions. Oh, sorry about that. So on my computer popping up. All right, sorry about that. So anyway, I might edit that out. I might not. I don't know. So until then, This is Bill Chase telling y'all, quoting a very wise Hamiltonian, the late great Billy Red Lyons, when I tell you, don't you dare miss it.
Thank you for listening to Diary of a Wrestling Fan with Bill Chase. If you'd like to make a contribution to the show, just remember, don't send Bill anything pumpkin spice related or he will throw it right in your eye.